What are you watching for? Key comments or messages that you expect to hear from Chair Powell today?
Well, it's thanks for having me today. It is clearly things changed last week, and I think this new variant has changed the dynamics of where we thought it was going to be a very order, end of the year, and I think the reaction function that we will hear from, from Powell, from Yellen, from different countries, and from everybody, including investors, is what we're seeing in the uncertainty in the market today. The big difference between what we saw back in the summer with Delta and what we actually see today with Omicron, it has to do with the inflation picture. We didn't talk much about inflation back in the summer. And when we're thinking about what everybody was concerned going into 2022 was really about, the headline inflation that we're going to see in the first part of the year and how everybody was going to react to that. When you put the big cloud of Omicron in the middle of this, it does create a very different dynamic that we already observed in the way that the market has reacted in the last couple of days. When we hear good news about, potential vaccines, we're going to see the market, thinking about the cyclical world is back in vogue. We're expansionary. Everything looks more reasonable. When we see that things may not look as good, we're going to see the other side of these, thinking that economic impact being together with inflation will probably put a very dark, outlook for next year. So it is really a very uncertain time until we get a better sense of what the impact of Omicron or what really means Omicron in the sense of, the health crisis.
Yeah, I want to bring Joel Colina here from Wedbush Securities as well. Joel, given the fact that it is a mixed picture, you do have some of the tech stocks moving higher today. It's some of those so-called stay-at-home plays that are registering the biggest gains. We've seen these gyrations over the last couple of days, given the headlines and where they've gone around this new COVID-19 variant. Is there a buying opportunity here, or do you steer clear if you're an investor?
I mean, it's funny. We came in Friday just a couple of days ago, and the carnage was real. It was one of the worst kind of drawdowns we saw in a long time, and I think a lot of that had to do with thin attendance and liquidity due to the holiday shortened session. But for most of my conversations, bullish sentiment remains pretty intact for tech. We expect to see continued acceleration of investments in pockets of the market, which just continue to show signs of growing. And that's whether it's the shift to the cloud, digital transformations, AI, 5G, electrification of automobiles, high-performance computing. And now you can kind of throw metaverse, which is obviously a theme much more in its infancy. But in terms of tech, you're just not seeing a slowdown in any of these secular trends. What really jumps out at me, though, I think we spoke about it a couple of weeks ago as well, there's just very little risk appetite from the investment community to kind of bottom pick or go bargain hunting in pockets of the market that haven't worked. So whether that's some of the higher multiple names in the tech sector and software, or if it's anything tied to a SPAC, or in the payments and fintech space, which have just gotten decimated this year, that's kind of where we're seeing investors avoid those names which haven't worked and just stick with the horses that got you here up to this point.